it's like, I hate this sport. I hate it. I don't like having to starve myself. I don't like having to...
You shouldn't have to do that for yourself.
I don't like having to get injured. I don't like any of it. And basically, it's like I've gotten to the point where I hate it so much that if I have to show up, I might as well hurt some kids while I'm there.
Wrestling is a lifestyle between cutting weight and constantly getting smashed into the mats, and the boys are completely dedicated to the sport from October until February. But answering why they do the sport is a harder question than it seems.
I don't know. I cannot tell you. No wrestlers can tell you why we really do it, really. Very few of us actually enjoy the sport.
Senior Victoria Alvarez, one of the few fans dotting the benches during the wrestling tournament, said she would actually join the team herself. Her and coach Burt both think that the boys do it as a way to push themselves.
Even though like a lot of them don't like necessarily like love the sport, like they like it because it forces them to push themselves. Like it's sort of a test for themselves to see how good they can be, like how far they can go.
You can't really explain it. You have to do it to really kind of get a feel for why. Once you get past the physical part of it, because it's so difficult, you gain a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You know, you got to have self-discipline. You got to have good work ethic. You got to be able to tell your body to go when everything in you tells you to stop. You got to be able to turn that off and make your body keep going, because it's the hardest sport in the world.
Bacon, Johnson, sweet. All your setup. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Go. Sweet.
In Senior Michael Runyan's words, wrestling is a mano-a-mano sport, and the boys can only rely on themselves when they're on the mat. Despite the individual nature of the sport, the teammates and the coaches are really close.
Wrestling is, most people wouldn't consider it a team sport, but as a team, I think I'm closer to the wrestling team more than I am any other team, just because we're always with each other. And one thing that really binds us is wrestling conditioning is pretty hard to get to. I've never had a conditioning tougher than that, and going through that with another group of people really brings them closer together.
There's a stigma that cutting weight is a necessary evil to be a wrestler, but the wrestlers say that no one forces them to cut weight, and it's based on what each wrestler themselves want to do.
A lot of people are like, oh, I'm wrestling, so I'm going to have to cut weight, and that defers a lot of people, but actually you really don't. A lot of the time you just wrestle with what you weigh at, and that's your own decision. It's not like anyone forces that upon you.
But there's definitely a right and a wrong way to cut weight, and Waller explains just how fine this line can be.
Constant game of how much can I get in my body and to allow my body to operate, but not so much that I've got to kill myself to get my weight back down to where I can make weight. So it's just a constant game of knowing how much you weigh, how much you can lose in a certain time period, and being at a certain weight at a certain time.
The less than 6-minute matches are what all this work leads up to, but they can still take a toll on the wrestlers. For some, though, winning is reward enough to push through the season.
Sometimes it looks really painful, like when guys have their shoulders stretched to heck and gone, but I don't know, it's just really interesting to watch, like watching them like struggle to stay off their backs or struggle to like get an escape or a reversal.
It's all worth it once you win, to be honest. Like all of this is just getting your hand raised at the end of the match. I guess that's why we do it.
Whether a wrestler's reason for doing the sport is winning, challenging themselves, or even if they're still unsure, wrestling is not a sport for the faint of heart.
32 days and I'm never stepping on a mat again.